Hello, Kentucky. Few schools are paying attention to Nazir Anderson, but are someone who should be eyeing. A perfect stranger for the Wildcats. Let's go to the news. But first, subscribe to the channel to receive more news from the blue and white team. An unknown name, one of Nazir Anderson. A name that, until a few months ago, was virtually unknown outside the most intimate circles of youth basketball. Now emerges as one of the most promising players of the 2027 class. And for Mark Pope, Kentucky basketball coach, this may be the opportunity to ensure a recruit that can do something different in the future. Anderson, ship owner who has already shown maturity and skill far beyond his age in international and national competitions. His performance at FIBA U16 AmeriCup was nothing less than spectacular. Not only did it take the United States to gold, but was also crowned MVP of the tournament, showing impressive numbers, averages of 12.3 points, 6.8 assists, and 3.5 ball thefts per game with a 66.7% shot. These numbers are not just statistics. They reflect Anderson's ability to lead, create plays, and impact the game defensively. Essential qualities for a player who aims to shine at the university and eventually professional level. What makes Anderson even more special is the way he combines athletics, physical strength, and game intelligence. Jamie Shaw of Rivals described him as a relentless attack leader, highlighting his balance and ability to press opponents both inside and outside the carboy. This player profile is exactly what programs like Kentucky are looking for. Someone who not only scores, but raises the level of his companions and controls the pace of the game with mastery. Anderson's performance at NBPA Top 100 camp shortly after the international tournament only reinforced his reputation. University coaches who watched the matches were impressed with their ability to make quick and effective under pressure, as well as their gaming view. It was not long before the offers started to arrive, with more than a dozen large programs offering scholarships as soon as the contact period was opened. Currently, he occupies the 9th position in the Rivals Prospects ranking for 2027, a meteoric rise that reflects his potential. Kentucky, although not yet made an offer, is already on Anderson's radar. The young player revealed that he maintains daily contact with Mikhail McLean, Wildcats' technical assistant, who has worked to build a genuine connection with him. During the Adidas 3 SSB Championship in Rock Hill, South Carolina, Mark Pope and his team were able to watch Anderson in action more closely. He did not disappoint, registering averages of 13.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 2.4 assists per game. His fluid play style and his ability to involve his companions caught the eye, especially when he mentioned that he noticed Pope watching one of his games. "I must have news of him soon," Anderson said, in a tone that suggests that Kentucky is in a privileged position in this race. What makes Anderson even more attractive to Kentucky is his growth mindset. Despite all the recent success, he recognizes areas that needs to improve, such as maintaining composure in times of adversity and being more consistent in his performance. This healthy self-criticism is a sign that it is willing to evolve and adapt, characteristics that any university program values profoundly. In addition, his description of himself as a good teammate, capable of creating opportunities for himself and others, resonates with the collective game philosophy that Pope has sought to implement. Kentucky has been sending NBA matches to Anderson, pairing it to players like De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle, and Jalen Brunson. This strategy not only illustrates the potential they see in it, but also demonstrates the commitment to shape it to reach the maximum of your talent. For Anderson, who seeks a team that puts it as a central piece of the attack, this can be a significant differential, although Kentucky faces fierce competition from programs like Louisville, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Tennessee. There is something special in the way the Wildcats recruitment department has been approaching Anderson. The personal connection, the focus on its development. and the tradition of sending players to the next level can weigh in favor of Kentucky. A big stranger to make a difference in the program. Football is a sport full of moments that can change the fate of a season or even an entire program. For Kentucky Wildcats, the Eastern Michigan game in 2019 was much more than a quiet victory at the beginning of the season. It was the starting point for one of the most unlikely and inspiring stories in the history of modern university football. That September night at Kroger Field. Few could predict that the 38-17 final score would be just a detail amid a whirlwind of events that would define the rest of the year for the Wildcats. Until that moment, everything seemed to follow as planned. The Holder quarterback Terry Wilson was leading the attack with mastery, keeping alive the flame of the promising season of 2019. After being a key piece in the campaign of 10 wins in 2018 and the triumph in Citrus Bowl, Wilson was seen as the lighthouse that would guide Kentucky to new achievements. But the unexpected happened. At the end of the third quarter, Wilson suffered an illegal tackle with horse collar applied by Turon Rush, a player of the defensive line of the Eastern Michigan. The play, punished with a penalty, was expensive to Kentucky. Wilson left the field with a serious knee injury, ending his season even before she could take off. While taken from the lawn, he waved to the fans, an image that was recorded in the memory of fans as a symbol of resilience, also of uncertainty about the future. With Wilson out, the command of the attack went to Sawyer Smith, a transfer of Troy who arrived at Kentucky with some expectation. Smith performed solid in the rest of the game against Eastern Michigan, completing passes and leading 2 touchdown campaigns, including a 54-yard pass to Ahmad Wagner. It seemed that the team could absorb the blow and move on. However, the provisional solution did not last long. Smith took over in the next 3 games, but soon began to feel the effects of multiple injuries. In Week 5 against South Carolina, he was also forced to leave the team. With 2 unavailable quarterbacks and a season that was beginning to collapse, Kentucky was on the edge of the abyss. It was in this desperate scenario that coach Mark Stoops made a risky and visionary decision, turning Lynn Bowden Jr., a talented and versatile wide receiver, into quarterback. The idea seemed absurd at first glance. How could the main ability to take passes be converted into an offensive leader? But Bowden, with his competitive mindset and unique versatility, accepted the challenge of open arms. At first, the strategy was simple. Put Bowden on backfield and let it run. Adversary defenses quickly realized this and filled the box with 8 or 9 players, trying to suffocate any chance of advancement. But what they didn't count was with Bowden's combination of vision, patience, and explosion. He could find loopholes where no one else saw, turning apparently blocked moves into large yards. Bowden not only survived the transition, but mastered completely. Under his lead, Kentucky won 6 wins in 8 games, including important triumphs within the SEC. Among these highlights is the exciting victory against Louisville, when Bowden ran to impressive 284 yards. The memorable performance at Belk Bowl, where he launched a touchdown pass in the final seconds, ensuring the victory over Virginia Tech at the end of the season. Bowden accumulated impressive numbers: 1,468 land yards and 13 running touchdowns, plus 35 full passes for 430 yards and 3 air touchdowns. His ability to adapt his playing style to the team's needs has turned a season threatened with adversity into one of the most celebrated in the program's history. The impact of the game against Eastern Michigan goes far beyond the final score. That illegal tackle that took Terry Wilson from the field was, paradoxically, the trigger for one of Kentucky's most captivating journeys in university football. Without that injury, maybe Lynn Bowden had never received the opportunity to show his value as improvised quarterback. And without this opportunity, perhaps Kentucky had not discovered the collective strength of a cast willing to overcome any Obstacle. 2019 serves as a powerful reminder that sport is often shaped by unexpected events. Adversities may seem unsurpassed, but they may also generate overcoming stories that become part of the identity of a program. For Kentucky fans, that game against Eastern Michigan will not be remembered just for the result, but the way he changed the course of something very good and unexpected for the Wildcats in football. SEC's power ranking released this week by the SEC Network team put the Wildcats in the last position among the conference's 16 teams, reflecting the difficulties faced by the program so far. Although this is not a total surprise for Big Blue Nation, it is still difficult to swallow the reality that the team is being pointed out as the least competitive of the league at the beginning of the campaign. The classification considers performance, level of competitiveness, and future perspectives, has positioned Kentucky below teams such as Florida and Arkansas, who are also facing their own crises, but at least managed to show flashes of hope. The criticism underlying the Mark Stoops team is clear. Despite their traditional physical strength and discipline in the countryside, Wildcats still lack the individual talents and depth needed to compete with SEC giants. As SEC Network's Joe Menzer pointed out, they just haven't proved that they have players able to face the best of the conference. It is important to recognize that Kentucky's current scenario is not only a reflection of his own performance, but also of an extremely challenging calendar. Following a promising start with victories against lesser opponents, the Wildcats suffered a painful defeat for Ole Miss, a ranked and always competitive team within the conference. Despite the minimal difference on the scoreboard, 32-23, the game has exposed worrying weaknesses, especially in the attack, which remains a chronic weakness of the team. Meanwhile, other SEC teams took advantage of their moments to impress. Mississippi State, for example, got a significant victory over the then 12th place Arizona State, catapulting to 13th position in the power ranking. This contrast only reinforces the perception that Kentucky is stagnant while other programs advance, although Coach Mark Stoops was publicly defended by Mitch Barnhart, Kentucky's athletics director. The pressure on him grows every week. The confidence placed in it is based on past achievements, such as the seasons of 10 wins in 2018 and 2021, but the present requires more than nostalgia. Stoops needs to find ways to maximize the potential of a cast that, although physically robust, still seems limited in terms of creativity and versatility. Kentucky's defense remains its strong point, but the attack has been a constant obstacle. Even with Cutter Boley taking over the title in charge of the attack, the results still want. The lack of explosiveness and the inability to convert drives to points have been recurring themes in recent games. Against the strongest teams of the SEC, these flaws tend to be amplified. Saturday's confrontation against Eastern Michigan offers a chance for Kentucky to recover part of the lost confidence. However, as highlighted by analysts, a victory against an opponent outside Power 5 will not be enough to significantly change the team's overall perception. For BBN, is a hit game an opportunity to adjust details before facing a brutal sequence of 6 consecutive SEC opponents. 5 of them are currently classified. This sequence will include duels against Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, all teams that represent huge challenges for any program. The more for a Kentucky that still seeks its identity. The week off after the game against Eastern Michigan will be crucial for Stoops and their team rethink strategies and correct errors before this decisive marathon. Despite criticism and widespread pessimism, there is reasons for optimism. Kentucky has a recent tradition of overcoming, as shown in the 2019 season, when Lynn Bowden Jr. led the team to one of the most unlikely journeys in the program's history. In addition, BBN's loyalty remains unshakable. The fans continue to attend games even in the face of disappointing results. It reflects a deep emotional bond with the team. If Kentucky can show tangible progress, even if it doesn't result in Victories against the strongest teams, you may be able to recover part of the lost credibility. But do you still believe in Coach Stoops? Comment on your opinion